do the share. And I will, let's see, got it. And I'm going to stop recording and then start recording.
It still says we're in a practice session.
That's because we are still, but we are broadcasting. Okay. There we go. Now we are, the webinar started. Hopefully people, look, people are joining. Thank goodness. Yay.
It worked this time.
It worked this time. They changed something so that if you were in the sort of preliminary practice session, they call it, before a webinar goes live, you're supposed to just be able to click the button and then people can start connecting, but they changed something so that nobody could connect if you had started in a practice session. Anyway, they fixed it quickly. Oh, the number has stopped growing.
Let's hope they fixed it.
Well, Pat and Mary and you and I will have a nice chat if it's only the four of us. Pat and Mary, did you get in with a link from last week? Or did you get a new link? Did you follow the patron link today? I'm curious. Yay, people. Holly made it home. That means Ralph must be home. That's good. Oops. They've also changed something with related to screen sharing. Have you noticed that? Oh, I'm supposed to be, wait. I have to save, share the thing on Patreon. I got distracted. Where, create live stream. Go back. Oops, that's why that thing was open. Darn it. Copy. Go back here. YouTube. And paste. And okay. For some reason, it always wants me to schedule a post rather than, no, see, it just scheduled it for tomorrow. And it didn't even give me the option to change it to post immediately. Oh, how do I change that? No, turn that off. There we go. Publish now. Sorry, you guys get to hear me narrate while I.
Well, it looked like Pat kind of had a challenge getting in. She had to fuss around.
Okay. Hopefully people will get here. I'm going to close YouTube. Go back to the other. Oh, they reorganized everything on Patreon, and maybe it will be easier to find things once I learn it, but I don't know it yet. Did you notice during the webinar yesterday that they changed that the way share screen works so that anything in my browser tabs was visible? My Facebook chat was visible and my mailing list was visible. Even
yes.
if it was in I was in a different Chrome profile entirely even, and that was visible, but Fiberworks wasn't.
So are you seeing that people are picking the July date to click on,
Yes.
etc.? So there may be people who have not figured that out.
I was going to say in my little note, go ahead and pick any date, but I was afraid that then it wouldn't put people right in the webinar, that it would just send them an email saying, okay, well, in July, you get here's the link for July. And So I was worried that that would not be good advice, but now that I know that it is good advice, I will tell people. If I can.
Well, 6 people have figured it out.
We might not have that big a group this week since, in addition to the regular, it's summer and folks have things to do that is not sit at their computer. We are also, you know, this is a non-standard meeting. Comment or edit. Here we go. Just going to add to that post. Oh, I did say it won't say today's date. Let's say just pick one of the dates. And okay. Notify, save. People are probably getting 3 or 4 emails from me right now, but that is better than not knowing how to get in. Okay. So I think we're set. Small group. Hello, folks. It is not quite 5 after. We'll give people a little extra time, maybe, just because it's unusual. There are people commenting on the Patreon post. So if you are watching on Patreon, if you're watching this in your browser through Patreon rather than Zoom, know that we can't see your comments unless we switch over to Patreon to look. So, and we won't be able to see the questions that you ask. So if you want to ask questions live, then you need to come in through the Zoom link and get into the Zoom interface. But you are more than welcome to watch how you are, however you prefer. Doesn't matter. Okay. I suppose we should just get started and folks will trickle in or they will not. They can catch the nearly instant replay if they weren't able to come. So would you like to start us off with your not quite a scarf report? Oh, wait, I was supposed to have those pictures queued up. I did last week. Talk slowly.
Yeah, well, what I'm going to show you today is not a scarf. It's a ruana. And I'll stand up and you can kind of see it. It's pretty long. And it's Bronson lace and plain weave. And the fiber is 8-2 Orlon from Broussard. And so it's really comfortable for a spring and summer thing now that we're finally getting summer here. And it's doesn't wrinkle much. So that's what it looks like. And the thing that I did that was a little bit different on it is the way I did the neck. The typical way of doing a ruana is to have 2 long pieces of fabric and sew them up the back and then have the front open so that you have kind of a point in the back or you have to reinforce that so that it doesn't split. So I did this a little differently and Janet's getting okay, this shows, where's the other one, honey?
Well, you sent some by email and you sent some by messenger, so they're not in the same place. So I'm looking at the messenger ones now and I'll get the email one out while you're talking.
Well, okay,
no,
but
I can't do that.
This is the final thing.
Okay, I will dig in my email.
Sorry about that. I thought I just saw the other one. So what I wanted to do was to make a kind of a square opening in the back. And in order to do that, I did what this next picture is going to show.
I'm here. I'm ready. I'm almost. Ah.
There. Can you slide it up so that we can see it a little bit?
Is this?
Yeah, well, let's see. I suppose if I made that full screen, it might show. Oh, no. No, I want to be able to see where it's cut up at the top. So make it smaller. Don't expand it like that. There. So you can see there that what I did was I just cut the threads, the warp threads in the middle part. And then if you go down a little bit, if you can, there, then using 3 shuttles, I wove each side and I wove that little tab in the middle in plain weave. And then,
I have a question.
yeah.
Did you cut it? You didn't cut it before you wove the little tab. You must have woven the tab and then cut it, or else there wouldn't have been any tension on those little shorty thingamajiggers.
That's right. That's
okay.
That's the proper sequence.
Okay.
And then I turned those under. I think I zigzagged the edge of that.
Sorry. This.
And there, turned it under and hand stitched it down. And so it makes a pretty nice edge. Now that's the top side. It's a little bumpy there. I don't think I had pressed it yet, but
it looks like you folded it right along this weft pick at the edge of the lace there, so it's nice and straight.
Yeah.
Did you have to do anything to reinforce these corners?
I think I, let me see. I can't remember that I did, but maybe I put some extra thread, just sewed it. I don't see that I did.
And so you wove all the rest of it with 2 shuttles?
Yes. Well, when I sewed that little tab down on the side of the tab, I did reinforce it right there at that corner.
Right here?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So anyway, I wear it quite a little bit.
And oops, wrong button again. You guys get to see my calendar repeatedly. There it is again. And you made a couple of them, didn't you, Mom?
I sold one in brown tones at the Vashon Center for the Arts auction. And I still have a couple. They haven't sold, so.
And it looks like a hem at the bottom.
Because I quite like mine. What, honey?
It's a hem at the bottom, not fringe. I see.
It's a hem, yes, no fringe.
Lovely.
So that's it for me.
Let's see. I don't see any Q's or A's about that in the chat. But I can tell you that she also has a lovely curtain in her bathroom and also in the guest room, which is my room when I'm there. That's similar fabric, and it's quite beautiful and quite simple. And so I copied it when I got home and needed to do some stuff. So mine's a little different. I made, instead of all lace squares, I made some square, oops, it's right on the hem, some squares that aren't filled in with lace, just boxes. And that requires more shafts. And it's, it's an interesting effect, but I don't think it's so much better that, I mean, it was lovely in the original, and that's only a 3-shaft weave, isn't it, Mom?
Yep.
Yeah. So,
Well, because of the plain weave, I threaded it on 4 shafts.
but you don't have to.
And I can't remember now. No, that's right. That's right. I didn't.
No.
Yeah.
If you were weaving it on a counterbalance loom, you would want to do something so that you were using all 4 shafts, because a counterbalance loom isn't going to know what to do with itself if one of the shafts has no threads on it at all. This came up during the name drafting thing yesterday, actually. But other than that, if you're on a jack loom or a table loom, there's no reason to thread it on more than 4 if you don't need them for the blocks. And unless you want to just spread the threads out on more shafts so they're not too dense. But it's a lace, so it's not that dense anyway.
Or you don't want to move all those heddles onto shaft number 1.
Exactly. So then you can use shaft 1 and one of the other ones to just be shaft 1 together, and the other 2 to be shaft 2 and 3.
Right.
That's an excellent reason for designing it with only 3 shafts, 1 block of lace. And I did this, so Mom's curtain and Mom's Ruana and this swag, which goes in my office, which is they're all made out of Orlon. So super washable, super easy to take care of. I also made tea towels with the same draft out of hemp, the cotton hemp, and cotton. And they were lovely. They all sold at the show that I made this for. My Weavers Guild did a show where we did like all the different rooms of the house, and I was in the kitchen. So this was the curtains, and I had matching tea towels. I see a Q for our Q&A. Hooray. Holly wants to know, how wide is the back, Mom?
How wide is the back of my, well, the whole thing? Gosh, you know, the back goes all the way across.
So how wide is each front?
I'll have to get a tape measure. I don't really remember.
From looking at it, it looks like maybe each front is, about that wide. What is that, 18, 20 inches wide, which would make the back 40-ish, 40 plus.
Well, I did it on a 56-inch Maycomber. So I had plenty of room. Let's see, Holly, it is. And this Orlon doesn't pull up very much, but a little bit, but finished, it's 43 inches wide. So that means the sleeves are 43 inches too, from side to side.
So that was probably 45, maybe.
Yeah, something like that. I don't really remember. I'd have to dig out my notes, which I didn't do.
Or count the lace blocks, multiply by 6. You can figure out the total number of ends pretty easily.
There were a lot of ends.
That would be. And do you remember by any chance what your set was?
I think it was 20.
I can't remember if I did 20 or if I did maybe 18, because I know I did the tea towels in the cotton hemp at 16. And I remember thinking, this will never work, but it did work.
I'm pretty sure it was 20.
Anyway, lovely. Thank you, Mom.
Sure.
Okay. Has anybody got questions before I have I have a couple of questions that are follow-ups to one that we talked about last month. But does anybody have any fresh new stuff for this month? Anyone? All 5 of you, 6 of you? Oh, there's a few more. A few more people have trickled in. Hooray. Nope, that's a big nope from the peanut gallery. Okay. So you may recall last month, Sandy had written an email saying, I have this draft from Handwoven and it says to use, I can't remember, I'll look at my notes and see, but it says to use one size of yarn, but I don't have that size. I have 8/2 instead. I'd like to use 8/2. How do I figure out the set? And because I didn't have more details, I said, okay, I'm going to make this assumption. I'm going to make that assumption. I'm going to make this other assumption. And therefore, these would, given those assumptions, these might be some answers. Turns out my assumptions were completely off base. Because it turns out that the project Sandy was looking at in Handwoven was they were evoking card weaving, tablet weaving, which is, well, the most relevant way in which it is very different from my assumptions is that it's extremely warp-faced. And this project is in fact very warp-faced. So let me go to my notes here. Aha, I was smart enough to save the link right to the project. So give me 2 shakes and you can see the picture of the project. Here we go, in the magazine. So this is what it looks like in the magazine, which is a twill that is meant to be reminiscent of card weaving. Or maybe the one on the left is card weaving and the one here in the inset is twill. But I think, what does that say? It says here's a draft for card weaving, but anyway, they converted it to a 4-shaft twill. And so their recommended set for 3/2 pearl cotton, there we go, is 24 ends per inch. And if you go to the master yarn chart, the recommended set for 3/2 pearl cotton in twill, master yarn chart, I have it right here, find 3/2, share again, narrating again, sorry. 3/2 pearl cotton, we'll just find 3/2, where is it? Wait. Where is it? There we go. Is 16. And that's, well, so that's a starting place for a twill set. So Sandy, my process would be like this. Okay, they're telling me to use 3/2 cotton with a set of 24 compared to its regular set of 16. So I would open up my calculator, which I fear you will not be able to see. And I would divide 24, the set that they're telling me to use, divided by 16, the set that is typical for that yarn. And I see that it is 1.5 times. So they're telling you to use 3/2 cotton at 1.5 times its normal twill set. And then I would find the recommended normal twill set for 8/2 cotton, which is also on this list and which I believe is 24. 24, 24. Sometimes the things are just right there, and then other times they are not. I know that it's 24, but I want to have it on my screen so I can show you that it's 24. It's happening. There we go, right there, 24, 24, 24. That's really quite small, but it does say 24. So I would take that 24 and multiply it by 1.5 to get the recommended set, to get an analogous set for your fabric in your choice of yarn would be 36 EPI. So that is if you wanted to use 8-2 cotton to weave the same project, which is a very warp-faced twill placemat. However, Sandy says what she wants to weave is tea towels. And something warp-faced like that would be very stiff. It would not make a good, it wouldn't make a towel. I don't know how absorbent it would be for one thing. Maybe it would be just as absorbent as usual, but it would be quite stiff. And so it would be hard to like fold and bend and get into the corners of whatever was wet you were trying to dry with your dishcloth. So I would not use a set of 36 if you were making a tea towel. I would probably use a set closer to 24, or my preferred set for twill in 8-2 cotton for tea towels is 22, which you can get from various reeds. And then the other part of the equation is that the draft in the magazine is for a placemat width, which is quite narrow compared to a tea towel width. So you need to decide how wide you want your tea towel warp and multiply that by the 24. The end result may, no, you're still going to need more threads. So anyhow, that if you were trying to reproduce the project of very warp-faced placemats, but in a different yarn, I would go through that logic of, okay, they're telling me to use this yarn at this set, but that is 1.5 times its normal set in twill. So the yarn I want to use should be set 1.5 times its normal set for twill to get a similar sort of fabric. That would at least be my starting point to achieve a similar fabric, but you don't want to achieve a similar fabric. I'm assuming you just want to use the pretty color stripes because they're gorgeous. I don't blame you a bit. But in that case, you don't really need anything from the original project other than the color order. And then your decision to use 8-2 cotton, pick a set that works, which would be like 22 or 24 EPI, depending on whether you want a firmer fabric or not. And then do your math as normal. So I hope that gives you some information that you can use in your project plan. I see that there is a question there, and I'm just going to go back here and check. Okay, they're unrelated to that one. So now looking at the Q&A. Anne says, I'm trying to beam a warp that is very fine silk, 140/2, combined with tussa silk. I had to wind the tussa in 8 separate pieces. The lengths of warp are 21 repeats and then 1 tussa. I've threaded it through the rattle and onto the back lease stick, but it's now impossible to straighten out. Okay, so through the rattle and onto the back apron rod, probably. Do you have lease sticks through the cross in front of the rattle? Are you using, this is Anne who's taken some classes from me and Mom in the past. So Anne, are you using the warping method that we use in class, that back to front method with the rattle in the beater? And do you have lease sticks in the cross in front of the rattle? That is the first question. And based on the answer to that, maybe we can come up with some help. Mom, there is a question from Jean or Jeannie, sorry, don't know which, Kavanaugh. Do you remember the fiber and size of yarn, I think, you used on the beautiful Bumberay baby blanket that you showed a few times ago? I'm pretty sure I do if you don't.
The one with all the colors?
I think that's the one that
But
she
I sold those ages ago.
Right. But we showed pictures of it not that long ago.
Oh, pictures.
Pictures. I assume. Yeah, pictures.
That was 8/8.
Cotton.
Yeah, 8/8 cotton.
Do you remember what set?
I'd have to hunt it up. I'll see if I can find it while you figure out Anne's problem.
Okay, I know I have set 8/8 at 10 for plain weave. So if mom can't find any numbers, then my guess is going to be 12, but hopefully mom can let us know. Mom has really great records from the old timey times. Not as much from newer projects. Okay, Anne says yes, she has least 6 in the cross that are in front of the rattle. The rattle is in the beater. The beater, I assume, is secured upright, so it will stand there without you holding it. And the lace sticks are probably also in through like shoelaces or bootlaces or something to hold them securely. So the first thing I would do, Anne, is to take each of your sections, wind the silk in 8 separate pieces. I don't know how wide your chains are, but probably if they're individual chains, you probably want to work with them as individual chains and grab the chain and give it a good hard snap, like horse reins, forward and back, hard snap. Okay, forward and back is not so much like horse reins. Break your horse's mouth that way, I think. But we're not talking, oh, pat, pat, pat. We're talking snap, snap, snap. And that should snap the threads more into alignment. Silk is really strong, so it should be okay. So I freely confess I have never worked with anything that fine. And the trick to keeping things untangled is going to be keeping them under tension all the time. So you might want to even, if you have a trapeze, you should use it. If you don't have a trapeze, you should just run over to mom's place and borrow hers, since Anne just lives down the road a little way. Well, Anne lives on the island. And then you can hang the warp chains from the trapeze and put weight on them, even when you're not working with them. And then you can take the weight off one, snap, 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 and put weight back on it. I may be not sure actually that it would be very convenient to like put it over the trapeze with the weight and then take it off and snap, snap, snap. So maybe you want to do the snapping before the trapezing, but you'll figure it out. Once you get things kind of straight though, keep it under tension all the time. As Laura Fry says, a thread under tension is a thread under control. And that's very true, very wise words from our Laura. One chain, it's a scarf. I've done that way beyond snapping. The Tessa sticks to the fine stuff. I was going to make a trapeze, good idea. Yeah, I think a trapeze will help because then you can just keep it under, tension without a trapeze. But then you only have the distance from the breast beam to the floor for the weight to hang from, which is not very much distance. If you have a trapeze so that it's up higher, then you only have to manage the weight less frequently. Mom, do you have any insights? Anne has snapped and snapped, and the silk is sticking to the fine.
Well, the only thing that,
oh, they're both silk.
yeah, we talked about this at the Vashon meeting. I guess I'm thinking that it might help to have some of them
Oh, yeah.
kind of separated.
Yes.
But of course, it's not threaded yet, so
Oh, right.
you'd
But
have
you
to,
still might be able to get something into, I mean, if she's got leaf sticks in there, she has a cross, which means
yeah.
she could get something into the cross behind the rattle. So separate the top and the bottom. And you can also, if your leaf sticks are attached to the loom, you can unattach them from the loom and run them. And given your sticky tangles, running might not be the right verb. You may have to like, encourage them along the length of the warp, which should clear some stuff. Sticky. How many ends did you wind together? I'm just curious. Not that you're going to be able to change that at this point. So yes, separating the warp into a couple of layers. So if you, like for folks who warp front to back, they often say that if you open a small shed while you're beaming, that because the threads are already through the heddle, so opening a shed separates layers a little bit, that can help. I wonder about some sizing to reduce the stickiness, although is it hairy? I don't know what this, you're saying Hussa silk with an H, and that's not a term I'm familiar with. I was assuming at first that it was Tussa, but maybe I'm wrong. Is that hairy? Because if it's hairy, then maybe adding some sizing that would kind of stick the hairs down would help.
I find too, I was just beaming something that was really dense in 16-2 cotton, but I wound 4 at a time. And I find if I tip the leaf sticks, and that kind of separates them and makes it easier to move the leaf sticks along.
Yep.
If you have somebody helping you, then you can do, as Janet was saying, you can have somebody holding on the warp way back there a ways, and then you can kind of tip those leaf sticks and move them back quite a ways on the warp. Otherwise, you don't have very much room to work between your rattle and your front beam.
Well, and so, but tension on it. When you're trying to move the leaf sticks through the warp, there has to be tension on the warp.
Absolutely.
And the trapeze is not going to be your best choice for that because it's awkward to get leaf sticks up and down. I mean, if you can get them, Mom, you use your trapeze more often than I do. If the leaf sticks are between the top of the trapeze and the breast beam, don't they still get kind of hung up on stuff?
Oh, well, you can work, if it's a problem warp, you have to work with it. But it's easier to do that, and you can work it all the way up to the top. And then you've got, you can wind that much on, much easier than fiddling around with just in the front of your loom there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I didn't use trapeze on this because it was only 6 yards. So I didn't want to fiddle with it. I just crank and yanked it, but it would have been easier to manage if I had had the trapeze.
Yeah. Anne's asking now where you get sizing. You can make your own. The one time I sized a warp, I did it before it went on the loom, and I made it out of like Knox gelatin, really watered down, I guess would be a description. Thin solution, that's the word I wanted. But I think I've heard of people spraying like with hairspray, so that might just be to take care of static.
You can buy a sizing for I don't know if it's called sizing for ironing.
Well, there's like starch
Yeah, I don't think you'd want starch unless it
That would
watches
be
out really well.
sticky, wouldn't it?
I really don't know.
Yeah,
I bought some once and I don't use it. I mean,
yeah.
I hardly iron anything anyway.
Um,
Mix it
I
like
would,
hand
I
bogans.
would go to the Google web nets and ask them how to make sizing and see if there's some like home recipes for it. And if you remind me after office hours, I will look and see if there's anything in Magic in the Water about it. There might be, though that's about finishing, not about weaving, so maybe not. But now I want to know. Okay. All right. Mom, did you find the informations about
I
the
did. I set 8-8 at 12.
That's what I said.
Yeah. That was
Wait.
back in 2016. Good grief, how time flies.
That was only 6 years ago.
Well, yeah, it doesn't seem that long ago.
No. Well, it was BC before COVID. And the COVID era has like totally warped our sense of time.
That's true.
Like a year just vanished. Okay. So there was another question from Sandy, who asked me about weaving with hemp. She has woven with cotton and hemp blends, but she was she's planning to weave something with 100% hemp and wondered if I had ever woven with that and what it would be like, and does she really need water, and da 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 da. And I too have only woven with cotton hemp blends, but hemp is going to act like linen to a large extent. And linen does need water. Depending on how humid your environment is, it needs more or less. I think it's always a good idea to keep your bobbins, your weft on the bobbin in a humidor so that it's a little bit humid. And you can look up online how to make a humidor. You take like a plastic tray and a dish turned upside down in that plastic tray to make a little platform, and then another dish or basket or something on top of that little platform. You put your bobbins in that, and then you put some water in the bottom of the tray so that the water, it creates a humid environment, but the bobbins aren't sitting in it. You don't want them to be wet. You just want them in the humid environment, and then you put a lid on the whole thing. So I have like a Tupperware kind of container, a plastic, one of those like plastic shoebox things. And I have an upside down saucer or something like that in it. And then a little shallow basket, and my weft bobbins go in there, and I put an inch, 3/4 of an inch or something of water and a lid on. And I just leave that sitting on the dryer because the dryer isn't far from my room with the loom in it. But I don't want it right in that room because that room is small and crowded, and I'll bump into it and I'll get water all over the place, but it's handy. And if the environment was more damp, I would also keep like a wet cloth or something on the warp on the back of the loom. But I have found with the linen that I have woven with, that my environment is humid enough that I don't need to do that. That actually causes more problems than it solves. I need to keep my weft humid, but not my warp. Depending on the humidity in your area, you may need more or less humidity in around your materials. And I very much think that hemp on the loom, 100% hemp, if it's spun like line linen, from the long bast fibers, will behave in much the same way as the linen does. So that is what I expect for you. But I don't have any personal experience with it. Anybody else out there have you woven with 100% pardon me, hemp? And like the line hemp, not the toe, if there is such a thing for hemp. if you have a personal experience, then we would love to hear from you. And the last thing she had asked, something about using 10.2 versus 10.4. I'm not sure what that question was about. And she's not here today, so I'm not able to get clarification. 10.4 should be twice as heavy as 10.2. No, twice as fine as 10.2. So it would not use the same set. Am I right about that? 10.2, 10.4. I get so mixed up given the fact that the US and Canada have their fractions backwards. It's meant that I can stop and think. It's kind of like I can think of indoor temperatures in Fahrenheit, but outside has to be Celsius, and that makes no sense. Makes no sense at all. But I have trouble going back and forth between them. Canada is very conflicted in its measurement systems. Any other questions? Anybody? Holly, you had a question, or you had suggested I do a demo of something in Fiberworks. Something in the tie-up. Was it? Holly has raised a hand. Oh, that is a thing that can happen. And how does that work? If you can just, Holly has unraised her hand, but hopefully she will chat and or ask a Q soon. As I recall, though, you were wondering about a demo. I had done something in a different study group. The tie-up by quarters, was it, in Fiberworks? Or let me ask this, does anybody have anything that they would like to see me demonstrate in Fiberworks? I can spend I'll spend some time on that for sure if you have questions. And I can spend some time on Holly's suggestion. But I also, yes, she's saying yes, it was turned by quarters. Okay. But I also want to do, for my book report equivalent, I want to introduce you to the new stuff on handweaving.net, which is amazing. And as it so happens, works really well with my name draft generator, which is now live and publicly known about and can make WIF files that you can use on handweaving.net. Oh, Holly says, never mind, I want to see handweaving.net. Okay, then let's go look at that. But on the way, we're going to take the scenic route to handweaving.net because first we're going to look at the name draft generator because it will produce a WIF file that we can open in handweaving.net. So first of all, let me get my tab set up so that I don't make you guys watch me flip around between 50 million things. I have lots of pictures of Rwanas open. My Guild Treasures report, you don't need to see that. Close Facebook. There is the, I'm going to close that. I'm going to try this. That and that. Sign it. Oh, good. All right. So, thank you for your patience. Okay. Are you seeing, Mom, my Weaving with Janet Dawson page?
Yes, it says name draft generator, beta.
Beta. Excellent. So you guys have seen the name draft generator before in an earlier version. It's a little bit more sophisticated now, and it has some exposition about what each of the things do. So I'm not going to bore you with a whole song and dance about how this works or what it does, but I'm going to use it to create a draft and then open that draft in handweaving.net. So let's see. Mom, what is a good phrase?
Vashon Island.
oh, here's the thing. We'll do Vashon Island. We'll do it by, we'll just choose odd blocks. Let's try a key. I'm trying to give this ABI JQR key more love. I'm going to set the max float to 3, and that should give us basically a twill, which would be a name drafted twill, which would be appropriate to use for tea towels if you were doing name drafted tea towels, if there was some reason to be doing that. I'm going to turn random on. Oops. And I'm going to tell it to mirror. And I'm going to leave it as structural, and I'm going to generate a threading, and that's what a threading looks like. That's what this threading looks like. And it says here, download WIF file. So I'm going to click on download the WIF file. And I don't know, can you see down here at the very bottom of my browser? It's just told me that it's downloaded a file. Don't know if that's in the share or not.
Yes, there's something down there. I can't
Excellent.
tell that it means to download, but it
Well,
just
that's what, yeah.
okay.
Okay. So it is now living in the downloads directory on my computer. And because I have Fiberworks, I could just click on that and it would open up in Fiberworks and I could use it on Fiberworks. But say you don't have Fiberworks and you would like to use a draft editor. Now you can do that at handweaving.net. So here I'm going to go to handweaving.net. This is the main page. And under drafts, no, wait. Yes, under drafts, there's search, there's your drafts, contribute, but now there's tools. And one of the options there's the color editor, which many of you have seen and used before. It is pretty much untouched. It's the same as it was. But now there's the draft editor, which also includes color. There's the profile drafting, which is the block drafting thing that's been there for a little while. There's a new tool that will tell you, that will let you take the draft and repeat it in warp or weft. And there's the amalgamation tool that's been there for a little while. Plus there's this thing that is create new draft. You can start from scratch and make a draft. We're going to use the draft editor for the moment. And then I have the option to upload the WIF. So I'm going to upload the one we just downloaded. You can see I've been making a fair number of name drafts lately. This is my downloads directory. It's completely full of WIF files. And there it is. I'm going to shrink this down so we can see it better. Oh, okay. So I limited the float length to 3, but right at the pivots, the float length got longer. So, okay, I'm going to say, no, that float length is too long. I want to make this be a twill. I don't want it to be an overshot. So having a float of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is kind of a deal breaker. If I want to do this like an A2 cotton at 22 EPI, that's almost 1/3 of an inch, which seems kind of long for a tea towel. So I want to get rid of those extras. Well, I can do that now. I go to threads and remove thread and say, well, okay, I would like to get rid of these threads here. There's one problem solved, and here's another one. Ta-da! I am done removing threads. I can edit colors now. This works just like the color editor. I can add threads if I wanted to add a beginning part. Done adding threads, and then I can fill that in. I'm just clicking on the little boxes. Oops. And then go to the end. How do I go to the end? Is that may be the end right there, actually. So I'll add some more threads over here. And oh, I'm done. Now I'm going to fill them in. I can edit the tie-up if I want. I can edit the treadling. I made an extra thread that I didn't want. Get rid of that guy. And I can, so this right now, let me, oopsie daisy. This came from the name draft generator, which was thinking overshot. So it has an overshot treadling. oops, but I don't want an overshot treadling. If I'm making a twill towel, I am more likely to just weave it exactly as threaded, as drawn in, trompe writ, but thread by thread, not block by block. So I'm going to copy all of the warp and put it over here in the weft. Boop. Now I'm done copying and pasting, and there is a twill that is a name draft from Vashon Island that has a little bit of a bordery bit that, and does, oh, and I can, let's see, I can show float lengths. I can look and see, okay, my max floats on either side, front, back, warp or weft, that's why there's 4, is it's nothing more than 4. Do you see this little pop-up window? Can you see a pop-up window, Mom?
Yep.
Okay. So, but then let's see, I only have 97 ends, and that is probably too skinny for a tea towel. So let's go to tools and go to draft repeats. And it's saying, now I've changed stuff. Do you want to download the width of the new version before I go along and mess with it? I'm going to take a risk and say no. Here is that draft. And now it's saying partial repeats are found. Do I want to include them? So it has found a repeat, but then it says it's got extra stuff that is not part of the repeat, or it's like the repeat, like maybe it's 1.5 repeats. Do I want to take the 1.5 and repeat that, or do I just want the 1? And I do not want to include the partial repeats, I'm going to say. And let's see, make it be that 3 times across. What's a good number of weft ends, warp ends for? No, that's still only going to be like 10. Let's see, make it 5 times across, 480. That would be a little more than 20 inches wide for a tea towel. That's not a bad size. And let's do 8 in the, there we go, in the weft. There is a tea towel shaped object in twill from a name draft of Vashon Island. Let's see, zoom back in again. I can download this version, or maybe I want to take it now to the color or the draft editor, color editor, and start putting some colors in. So now you can do all of this on handweaving.net. You can change the tie-up. There are still some things you cannot do. One of which, when you repeat, it's not going to do mirrored repeats. So if you want your design to be symmetrical, it needs to be symmetrical before you start. So if you're using the name draft generator, I have the option here to mirror it 1, 2, or 3 times before you even take it to handweaving.net. If you mirror it an odd number of times, 1 or 3, it will be symmetrical. So then on handweaving.net, you can direct repeat the already mirrored thing. But you could also open it up without having any mirror at all and take it into the draft editor, add a bunch more threads and type, click in the reverse order to make it symmetrical if you wanted it to be. It doesn't have to be symmetrical. You can do whatever you want. So I am going to see, are there any questions about either the generator or what you can now do in handweaving.net? If you're chatting, I can't see. No, I can see that there's no chat notifications. Okay. So this would be, I think, if you were, for instance, well, if there was some reason to make name drafts of cities and weave them as something other than overshot, here's the thing you can do. Here's another thing you can do. You can go back to the generator. You can put anything you like in the phrase, something short. Let's say like, let's see, I want, I'm going to cancel that. I'm going to go down to, say I'm doing this by motifs, and I'm going to use the motifs key. It's not letting me do that. Why isn't it letting me do that? Oh, because I didn't put anything in here. Okay. The motifs key. And I can see that in the motifs key, if I want a star, I use A. And if I want a rose, I use B. Actually, let's do something even different. Let's go back to blocks. Oh, yep. Okay. We'll use a different key. Use this one. That's fine. Blocks. If we want block A, we can type an A. If we want block B, we can type a B. If we want block C, we can type a C. So I'm going to enter the phrase, let's try A, B, B, A, B, A, B. Made that up. Okay. And come down here and turn on profile. Yes, yes. Oh, it only works by motifs. All right. Well, this is not that great an example then, because we're not going to be able to just do a regular old block profile, but you could do that over on handweaving.net. Anyway, I'll show you that in a second. So we'll turn on motif. Okay, motifs. Then this one. So we're going to get stars and roses. That's fine. I don't want any of this. Random off. No mirrors. Oh, actually, let's do mirror it. Profile and generate the threading. Oh, that's quite a bit longer than I expected. Let's turn off the mirror. No, the multiplier. There we go. Oh, it didn't matter anyway. Sorry. Okay, generate threading. Okay, download the WIF file. Oh, right, because it's stars and roses. I was forgetting. We're going to upload a WIF. Grab that one I just did, which is a profile draft. Let's see. And then I can take it to tools and profile, and I can say, show me this profile as, what would you like to see? Ooh, double weave. That's going to take 16 shafts. That's a lot of shafts. Let's see. Bronze and lace will only take 6. So there it is. As bronze and lace. And it looks like I can reverse the lace and the plain weave. I like that. Or we could say, nope, don't want bronze and lace. We want, oh, here, I got to make that big enough that I can read it. What's that other one I saw? Double weave, double weave. There it is as double weave. See, we got a pretty good double weave display. That's pretty cool. So you can create a overshot motif like profile in the generator and then bring it into handweaving.net and turn it into any of those unit weaves. You could also go to tools, create new draft, and let's see, 4 shafts, 4 treadles, 40 warp ends. That's fine. And that thing I was trying to do at first, which was A, B, B, A, B, A, A, B. And let's see, what can I do here? I haven't played with this yet. I can copy and paste. So if I just want the same thing in the warp and the weft, I can do it. And I can also repeat it here and here. And then I can turn on whatever combinations I want in the tie-up. And then we can go to draft, no, profile, and turn that little thing into, create block draft. Turned twill, for instance. Where's turned twill? Well, it's turned, it's like twill one way and satin the other, where it's just straight up turned twill. There it is. On 4 ends. So there's that thing done as turned twill. And that was completely done in the on handweaving.net, not done in. Oh, and it's also saying you can do this in only 12 shafts and 12 treadles. You don't need all this extra stuff. So compact it, and there it is. Pretty cool, huh? What is the chaff say? Does the generator do a profile draft? Yes, Holly, it will do a profile draft for overshot motifs. It doesn't currently do a profile draft for not by shafts or by block, but I think we could trick it into doing it by, let's see, if we went back up here, and what would happen if I just picked the AEI MQU key, for instance, and said by shafts, and then said enter phrase, that phrase, sure, we'll leave it as that. It should just translate A to A and B to B, and so A to 1 and B to 2. Don't care about max float. Don't want a multiplier, random off. Don't mirror for now. Structural, generate. Yes, yes, okay. Oh, well, it's okay. It's putting spaces in because it's saying, well, you're trying to do overshot and you have 2 odds together and you have 2 evens together. So you should do something about these spaces. So, but I think still, if we downloaded, well, first of all, let's mirror it some, because why not? Generate. Yeah, I know that. There it is mirrored. And if we download that WIF file and we open it over in handweaving.net, open profile WIF, sure, we can pretend it's a profile. Now see the, make it bigger so you can see it, because that is wee tiny. I need to put this into the draft editor now and fill in those. No, it closed the spaces. Well, that's nice. Thank you, WIF file thing, for doing that. But I do want to have the treadling be the same as the threading, for maybe. I mean, just because I can. Doesn't have to be. Oh, and I also need to fix the tie-up. So let's turn off that and that and that and that and that and that. And I can look and see, well, what if I turn that on? It's not terrible, but it's not really what I wanted. So that's more what I wanted. So now go back to the profile, continue, and create block draft and choose basket weave or whatever. Oh, well, look at that. Isn't that a pretty thing? And I can compact it to 10 shafts. So you can, it will turn overshot motifs into profiles, as you would expect. It does some unexpected things with regular, like anything that isn't a motif, but that's easy to do over in handweaving.net without even bothering the generator, because you just go to the like from the beginning, you would go to create new draft and enter the profile that you want. And of course, as always, you can surprise random drafts. You can pick any old draft that's here. There's one there. Let's use that one and take it into the tools draft editor now and make it colors. Or let's see, where's the nice purpley color. Okay, gonna do this part in that color. And that part too, why not? And when you do the repeat thing and it's looking for partial repeats, it takes colors into consideration too. And then, okay, so I like this threading and I like this treadling, but I don't want this tie up. Let's say I can just like take stuff out of the tie up and put what I want in the tie up. So you click a white space to make it black and you pick a black space to, wait, let's see. I go more like this. Do I get what I was hoping for? Turn off this stuff. Oop, I want that on and that on and that on and that off and this on and this on and this on, I guess. This is probably not really what I wanted, but I'm going to fill it in anyway because here I am anyway. No, that's not what I wanted. Now I'm just playing, right, to see what I get if I do fun stuff in the tie up. That's the beauty of a straight draw or a point twill. You can really play around in the tie up and do fun things. Let's see, what if I just make this? Oops. It's very small. It's kind of hard to click, click, click. And as far as I know, there's no keyboard equivalents or keyboard shortcuts. I've got to do something about those. There's some long float there. That would be here. What if I, nope, that's not going to work. If I look at the other side, I can see there's some really long floats here. So I need to do something on this one. Oh, no, where do I want? I want that one to go the other way on shaft 2. Oh, okay. Let's just pretend that's what I was after. And then I could take it to, I could check the float lengths. Oh, 21 might be a problem. Okay. Should probably deal with that. That's this guy right here. So that is on shaft, whatever that is. And on treadle, that same treadle, it's like this one treadle just wants to be reversed or something. Let's say I'm happy with it. I'm not happy with it, but we'll just say that this will work. Draft tools, where is it? Draft repeats. Continue. Warp by 5. There. Left by 5. That's pretty cool. If only that, I mean, obviously I need to play with it some more to make this. I need a better tie-up. My tie-up is kind of poopy. I don't know if I can edit the tie-up here. No, I have to take it back to the draft editor. Let's see. And I don't think I can just delete. No, I have to click everything off. So if that's on and that's on, then this would be on and that would be off. So these would be on and that and that, not that. And these would be off. No, those are supposed to be on. Oh, anyway, wasting time now. You get the idea. It's very much more flexible now than it used to be. You can play with the colors, you can do the repeats, you can edit stuff, you can add threads, you can remove threads. You can do that before or after you add repeats. And you've still got, in the colors, you've still got like gradients you can add and then repeat. and the block substitution. And so it's becoming more and more like a full-featured drafting package. It's pretty cool. Jeannie says, I have a draft I wish to do on handweaving.net. The total number of ends is 248. I could do lesser number of warp threads to begin, but the draft is 5 times the segment plus a single segment plus 5 times the segment plus a single segment, all done twice. So I feel I need lots of warp ends to begin with to enter, but every time I try it, flips out and I have to start again and again. How do I do fewer ends to get my draft down and then increase it? I'm not sure if I'm understanding the question correctly, but even if I did, I don't know the answer because it depends on why it's happening. It sounds like maybe there's some kind of a glitch in handweaving.net and that your best course of action is probably to let Chris know that it's happening and tell him exactly what it is you're trying to do. Like this is the original and I'm trying to do this and these are the steps I go through. And when I do it, it goes away. Because there's probably some problem that like maybe it's a memory thing, depending on the size of things, or maybe it's just that there's something in the logic that goes kaput. I mean, same thing happens with my name draft generator. I've had, bless her heart, there's a woman who sent me, we've been exchanging emails back and forth constantly because she's like, well, this is funny and this is funny and this is funny. And I love it because then I can fix those things because I haven't found all those things. So I think your best course of action is probably to tell Chris that the problem is happening. And if you have a way to record what you're doing as you're doing it, that would be extremely helpful for him, I should think. It would be helpful for me if I was in his place. And if you don't have a way of doing that, then you can look at something online that's called Loom, as it happens, loom.com, which is an app you can download or a website thing you can use that will record your screen and yourself if you want, as you're making a video of what's on your screen. So I have no idea what's happening under the hood on handweaving.net, so I couldn't even begin to troubleshoot where the problem was. And if it's in the repeats, or if it's in the size, or if it's in the this, or if it's in the that. So, yep, loom.com. Yes, like the thing you weave on. It's very confusing because we use it a lot. Tian and I and some developers were using it a lot for working on the Hand Weaving Academy site. And so people are like, well, did you send the loom? Like, okay, are you talking about an object or are you talking about a video? Couldn't they have called it something else, like lawnmower? Anyway. All right. We are at 7:15, so we're running out of time. I do want to mention before, I want to mention this is June. I'll have office hours in July and in August. I don't know about September because of reasons. It's possible that the Master Weavers 4 is going to go ahead here in Cape Breton. And if it does, it's possible that I may be attending. And it's also cruise ship season. And it's also the last kick at, the last few weeks of getting the Hand Weaving Academy ready for launch. So I just might be swamped, but I'm hoping to do something in September. But then that'll be it. The deal when I started my Patreon thing was, or with the office hours, was to do them until the Hand Weaving Academy began, because once the Hand Weaving Academy begins, I'm going to be doing office hours for the Academy every month too. So I can't do them both. So just letting you know that we will do July and we will do August, and I'm hoping we'll do something in September. And then that'll be the end of office hours in this format through this portal. So yeah, there it is. Okay. Any closing remarks? Anybody? Mom, got anything further to say?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. What's hanging? Have you got a dress hanging behind you in the window?
That's a mannequin that has a sweater and a long black skirt. It's been here since the last studio tour.
I see, for display.
Yeah, it's just been living here.
Okay. Looks like you have a visitor watching over your shoulder. All right. Well, that's that. Thanks for coming, everybody. We will see you. And apologies again for the craziness last week. It was out of my hands. So we'll see you next month in July. Can you believe we're already halfway through the year? Of course, we just talked about how 2016 was just a little while ago. July, whatever the third Sunday is. Yeah, that'll be it. Okay.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.